Welcome back. Your dreams were your
Dreams
ticket
were
back.
your ticket out.
Welcome back
Welcome
to
back.
the same old place that
Same
you
old
laughed about.
place we left
Well, the
about.
names have all changed since you've been around.
Been around,
Dreams have remained and you've turned around. They
turned
took who
around.
thought they'd lead you? Who thought they'd lead
Who'd
you?
have thought they'd
Here
lead
where we
you?
need you. Here where we need
Back
you. Well, we
here where
teach them a
we
lot
need you.
'cause we got
Tears in my
them on the spot.
look, we got
Welcome
'em
back.
on the spot.
Welcome
Welcome
back.
back.
Welcome back.
Welcome
Welcome
back.
back.
Welcome back. Welcome
Welcome
back.
back. Welcome
Welcome
back.
back,
Welcome
welcome back,
back.
welcome back. And we want to welcome you and welcome you back to On the Bunny Bus, the podcast for you all. My name is Easy Blues, and I am here with my spiritual guru, my artistic brother from another mother, my mister from another sister, my bestie from another testy. Sir, please introduce yourself.
I am Tim Easy, and it's a pleasure to be aboard the Bunny Bus with all of you out there in YouTube land. Thank you for joining us today. This is our pilot episode of On the Bunny Bus. Easy Blues and myself are here to chat all things Bunny Bus with you. And of course, you can't talk about the Bunny Bus without talking about the Suck It Easy Band. And you can't really talk about the Suck It Easy Band without talking about the Manchaba Lounge. Now, I know that one of the things we want to kick off our little podcast series with is a little segment we like to call Tales from Manchaba. Isn't that right, Easy Blues?
That is very right. And this is where you and I sit and talk about this incredible place that, for all those who lived on Long Island, understood that all art, especially in the 2000 aspect, came from Munchaba, a place where you had pure freedom, where someone could send a message through MySpace. That's right. We talk through MySpace. And they can say, hey, we're doing an improv rock opera, and we want you to be a part of it. An improv rock opera? Now that sounds insane. Who would make up a rock opera and try to make sense of it without ever meeting the musicians, with having no idea who's going to be there? And the true amazingness of it, we actually had for the intermission a balloon animal intermission by the fantastic Labyrinth Soul. It was a complete and total mind cluster. And it made things so absolutely beautiful where you could go up there and just live art completely without a net. Now, now, Tim, you had this incredible moment and said, "I need to make this happen." How did that come to fruition initially?
Well, it almost happened like you mentioned, although it wasn't so much me having the incredible moment or the idea. I didn't say to myself, I need to make this happen. What I said to myself was, we need to make this happen. Just look around. This band had so much talent. There was no excuse, really, honestly, to not have a project like this happen. I remember Shelley Jefferson from Brooklyn came out to sing with us, and she was one of the singers that night in the improv rock opera. And this is just an amazing memory for me, by the way, because I haven't thought about the improv rock opera in a long time. And I don't know that it was ever attempted by anyone else. I mean, an improv rock opera before us. And I don't know that an improv rock opera has ever even been attempted since us. It makes me wonder if this was even something that should have been attempted. Do you think it should have been attempted?
I think it definitely should have been attempted, and the reason why is you have to quote the true ethos of Suck It Easy: fear no art. You need to put your soul out there and just say, suck it. And it's just amazing. And just live in that type of moment, because from that point in time, nothing else is scary. You
Yeah,
know,
that
and
was
it's
that was it. It was there was fearlessness, that's for sure. And but even more so than that, there was talent. I mean, you were there, you saw it, the audience witnessed it too. I don't even think the audience knew really what to expect. I forget, maybe you can help me remember. I forget if we promoted that this was going to be a rock opera or if we just unleashed that on the crowd that night without telling them in advance. Did we promoted it as such?
We promoted it as such for us.
Okay.
And I know that KJW was promoting it a lot as like the rock opera, but
Okay.
improv never got put in there. It was just the Suck It Easy rock opera, and Labyrinth Soul was doing the
Mhm.
balloon animal intermission, which was just such an amazing aspect. You know, like I knew it was going to be improv, but I love that kind of stuff. And anytime you have to jump into that world, it's so much fun. And especially as a vocalist, because you have to come up with a melody, you have to come up with words, and you have to try to tell a story. And I love that type of aspect. Plus, I mean, again, working with such talented musicians, and one of the most incredible things about that and about the talented musicians was when we were playing Moonshab on a regular basis, we had our own little backstage area that actually is the Suck It Easy father, or the godfather, as many people say. You are the godfather of the Long Island music scene. The Bunny Bus is the godfather and namesake of this show. What was it like? What exactly is the Bunny Bus, for all those that are going, why do these two guys name the show on the Bunny Bus, and how come there's not Hugh Hefner?
Bunny Bus was our band's tour bus. And it's not to be confused with the Playboy Mansion or the Playboy Bunnies. That had nothing to do with any of that. In fact, on the side of the bus, there was artwork of a bunny. Now, the bunny resembled to me one of the happy tree friends from the early internet days. Now, I have no idea if that's where this bunny was from. I never asked Jeff. I should have asked Jeff. I'm going to guess that he knew the answer. And for those of you who might be wondering who Jeff is or who Jeff was one of our bandmates who was also our bus driver. And he was the one who owned the bus. It was amazing that this bus had the artwork like that on the side, and that I never took the time to find out why. It never mattered enough to me then. I wondered about it, but that was as far as it got. I just always loved the wonderment of it, I suppose. As far as the bus itself, though, and this being a segment called Tales from Manchaba, when we would show up at the Manchaba Club to play shows there, we would park the bus out front. No, not out front, out back behind the club near the main entrance. The main entrance was in the back of the club. So we would park it in back, and we would use the bus as a sort of backstage slash hangout spot for the band, like just a little chill out spot to get away from the noisiness of the club. If you want to take a break, just go hang out on the bus for a while. And we would use it as a dressing room. We would use it as a place to hang out. We would use it as a place to watch The Fifth Element on VHS. This was a while back. Yes, we only had a VCR on the bus. We didn't have a DVD player or a Blu-ray player or any of this other newfangled technology that I'm sure are on the tour buses used by bands these days. But we would use the bus as a hangout spot and a nice place to just decompress. And you need that. Being in a band where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, sometimes you need a place to just catch your breath. And that's what the bus was for us. It was more than just a means of transportation. For us, it was also a safe haven at the shows. I mean, not just Manchaba, but anywhere we went in the bus to go play a live show, the bus always doubled as a sort of backstage area for us with VIPs that we would allow on the bus. If we knew you and we were cool with you, you could come and hang out with the band. And I think that bus probably held somewhere between, I'm going to guess, at the most you could fit at the most 20 people on the bus. It wasn't a tremendous bus that can hold 50 people. It wasn't like that, but the bus was big enough. And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong about this, but I think that bus only got 6 miles to the gallon on gas. And it was a little bit of a nightmare to keep on the road. But we made it happen, and we used it. We enjoyed it in all of its glory. I don't know how many other bands, quite honestly, on Long Island were using tour buses or even in New York. But I sure am glad that we had that and that we were able to use it as as I said earlier, as a sort of little safe haven. Um,
Right.
Parked outside the clubs or wherever we'd be playing, whatever venue it was. And I think that all of the folks out there listening or watching in YouTube land, if you do start a band or if you're already in a band, I highly recommend getting a tour bus.
Mhm.
However you can make it happen. With us, it was just a simple fact that our bandmate Jeff had the bus. So
Yeah.
okay, let's just use the bus. I'm gonna guess, if you're in a band and you need a tour bus, you might want to try to get a hold of Jeff and see if that bus is still around. Maybe he'll let you use it if it's even his to let you use. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the bus went up for sale eventually,
Mhm.
about, if I'm not mistaken, around maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I think I remember the asking price for it being somewhere around 47K just to buy
Mm.
the bus outright. Um, but I hope that bus is somewhere today. I have no idea where it is. It exists forever in my heart and in my fading memories. And hopefully it will remain there for a good long time, forever gentle on my mind, if possible. So, oh my God.
What's up?
Easy
You all
Blues,
right?
you're not going to believe this, but with this being our pilot episode and all, the last thing I expected to see was any sort of listener mail. But it
What?
looks like we've got some rolling in already. This is really
Oh my
something.
goodness.
I see one here from well, there's two here. Why don't you
Yeah.
pull the first one and we'll see
All
what we
right.
can do to
Well,
react to that one, and then we'll do the
it's
next one.
so it's so interesting. He obviously knew we were talking about him. We were talking about the bunny bus. But has
Oh,
anyone seen where my copy of the Fifth Element VHS went from Jeff Regan on Long Island? Oh my
seriously?
goodness. Dead serious. He just emailed us about this. This is amazing. I cannot believe it. Wow. All right. So as Timmy was telling us in the last segment, the Bunny Bus only had the VHS player. They might have gotten a DVD player moving on a little bit later, but that VHS player, there always was this amazing tape. And if I remember correctly, I think it was when after we played the Crazy Donkey, we played that metal show. That I think Jeff gave it to Donuts, if I remember. Or do you think he gave it to Donuts? Because Donuts was supposed to have his kids that weekend and he needed something to entertain them.
I have no recollection of that whatsoever. But wow. To answer Jeff's question, I mean, that VHS tape could be anywhere. Tell you what, if any of our listeners or viewers out there in YouTube land have any clue where Jeff's VHS copy of The Fifth Element is today, please, by all means, let us know.
Yeah, put it in the
Drop
comments.
a comment right here on YouTube, right below the video, or of course, if you want to send an email to our program director, please do. His name is Sonny Calzone, and you can write to sonnycalzone@gmail.com and just include in the subject line on the bunny bus, and then in the body of the email, just fire away with whatever you'd like to chime in with. If you know the answer to this one, we'd really love to know. If I
For
had to
real.
take a guess, if I had to take a guess, rubber band to my head, I would guess that that VHS tape ended up in a storage locker in Paramus, New Jersey. And I have no idea why I'm guessing that, but that's my guess. And at least I'm on record as having made a guess. So
There
there
you
you have
go.
it, folks. Take it for what it's worth.
I used to sell door. I used to go door to door in Paramus.
Oh, you did, huh?
I did. Yeah, I sold coupons to go to a restaurant.
And how did that turn out for you?
I was in Paramus for like a week. I made money, and then I went home. But there was a Hooters in our hotel, so we ate wings during the Super Bowl.
There was a Hooters in the Super Bowl. I mean, there was a Hooters during the Super Bowl inside your hotel, is what you're telling me?
Yes,
I
yes,
see. I see.
yes. So, we at least we got to watch the Super Bowl at Hooters. So I guess for a 20 something, that was a good Super Bowl Sunday. Now,
Good.
maybe not so much. I'd much rather put my feet up on the and see it at home. But you said we had 2 listener mail.
Well, we do have 2, but one more thing about that whole thing. I get it.
Yes.
When you're in your 20s, that sort of thing is a lot of fun. But in life, the first 65,000 things are always fun, but then not so much. And now that
Exactly.
we're getting on in years, my brother,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
slow and low. That is the tempo.
That
Um,
is very true.
Yes, we do have another letter here. This one comes
Wow.
all the way from New York, New York, my old
Okay.
stomping grounds. Gotta love that. And this letter comes from Fat Lando. Hey, Fat Lando. And Fat Lando writes, so how much should I believe in the dark forest theory anyway? That's a very interesting question, especially for those in our viewership or listenership who are really into astronomy. Fatlando asks, once again, I'll repeat his question. He says, so how much should I believe in the dark forest theory anyway? That's an interesting question, Fatlando, and I'm glad that you come to us with that question, thinking that we would even be any sort of experts on that topic. But just to bring our viewers and listeners up to speed on what the dark forest theory is all about, anyway, this is the theory that there are other civilizations that exist throughout the universe, but they
Hmm.
are all afraid and silent. And they are silent because they wish to remain silent and not found. This is because they have no way to know if any sort of interaction with another alien species would annihilate their own species. How can they possibly trust another life form? That's where this theory is rooted in and based in. It all stems from paranoia, is essentially what it is. Now, the dark forest theory is something that a lot of folks buy into. Now, granted, it's only a hypothesis. It's never been proven. How can you prove it? You can't prove it. But
Right.
people have often wondered, how is it that there have been no life forms or transmissions detected by the SETI program or by any other space monitoring program? Now, maybe there has been some sort of contact made with other civilizations
Hmm.
that we don't know about, just being regular Joes, you and I,
Right.
those
Above our
folks
pay
listening
grade.
to the show. Well, but what do you make of all this? Easy Blues?
Well, see, I find it interesting because it being called the dark forest, it automatically reminds me of when you go out through the forest at night. You know, any single thing can pop up, and you not realize the other life that is around you. You are just in and stuck in your own universe. So it makes complete and total sense to me. And the only way we're ever going to know if that other civilization is there is if there's a hoot or a howl, unless we come face to face with them. So it makes sense. And I definitely would rely on a lot of that because, I mean, at least in our culture, it truly shows that, the ostrich puts its head in the sand, the ostrich lives longer. Possums play dead so that they can survive. So having that knowledge of, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, so I'm not going to face that tomorrow. Although very against what we stand for in Suck It Easy in dealing with art, there's a lot of difference between art and reality. And because if you look throughout our history, we are a very destructive society for a very long time. And if I was looking on, I might not want to come and hang out with us because we've done some things. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I know exactly where you're coming from. Even though I also understand at the same time, we're basing all this on a very small sample size. We're basing it on what happens on our planet, and we've
Hmm.
already seen how different so many other planets are from Earth
Right.
in terms of their atmosphere, if they even have one, in terms of whether or not they are, a gas giant, or if they're an ice giant, or whatever it is. You got all
Right.
these different kinds of planets out there. And I don't quite know how much Fat Lando should believe in the dark forest theory because it's not something that we can prove. It's a theory. There's lots of theories as to why we don't really see alien species visiting us. But I guess the best way to answer your question, Fat Lando, is to go to your local public library and ask your librarian for the latest publications concerning the dark forest theory. Go and educate yourself on what some of the writers are publishing these days about that theory, and familiarize yourself with what's being written about right now in 2023. See what the freshest angle is on it. See what the new ideas are that support it. See what the new ideas are that debunk it, because you can always debunk theories if you have evidence to disprove it. But in this case, I don't think we can debunk the dark forest theory, nor can we prove the theory. So it sort of becomes like this almost Schrodinger's cat of theories. Now, that doesn't mean it's unique as far as theories go, because there's always theories that exist that can never really be proven or disproven until maybe one day they get proven or disproven. So that's my suggestion to you, Fat Lando. Go to your local public library, number one, and 1A, support your local public library just in general, and two, ask your librarian to point you in the direction of the latest books, the latest research, the latest anything pertaining to that theory. And then after exposing yourself to that new knowledge, then make a judgment call for your own self. Honestly, until the theory is proven or disproven, I can't really tell you to believe in it one way or another. I just can't. So you've sent us a letter that is the unanswerable question, Fat Lando. And all I can say is I hope that my response helped you in some way. Easy Blues, what would you say to Fat Lando about this?
I would say continue to do the research, and like Timmy said, make sure you're going out there and you're supporting your local libraries, supporting every aspect of your local community. Yes, we could have sat here and told you to go to Dr. Google, but no, go to your library, walk in, feel the air hit you, have the scent of books hit your nose, and go have a conversation with that librarian and ask all of those questions, because that is what our society has truly been built on. So go and, or take even that further step and do the research to prove it or disprove it yourself. Be the person to prove or disprove the theory of the dark forest. I say go for it.
You know what? If you did that successfully, you might qualify for a Nobel Prize. I don't even know, or maybe some sort of prize, if not Nobel. But that's very good, Easy Blues, and I hope that Fat Lando takes your words to heart. And maybe he'll write us another letter and let us know how he did with all of that.
That would be awesome. We look forward to hearing from you again.
Yeah, I do. I certainly do. Thank you. And all of you folks out there, keep the letters coming in. Why not? We'll answer them, react to them, and enjoy a grand old laugh. If indeed you even want to send us a joke, that's fine as well. Whatever you want to send it.
And you want to know something? I'm having such a great time answering these questions. I think we could have a Q&A session right now. I'm going to shoot a question to you. You're going to shoot a question to me. Let's get weird. Let's get some maple syrup, put it behind our ears, see how things go. What do you think?
Hey, I think that's great. I'm all about it. In fact, I've got some questions that I've been wanting to ask you for years. So I'm all set to go with this one. If you don't mind, I'll ask you the first one. How's that sound?
Sure, let's go. Let me just get in the batter's box. All right, I'm ready. Let me hit it out the box.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. Which song did you most enjoy performing on stage with the Suck It Easy band? And why? There's the cherry on top for you.
That why. You want to know the song that I truly enjoyed the most performing with the Suck It Easy band was actually Hey Bartender. Um, for all those who do not know Hey Bartender, again, go to your local library, go talk to your librarian, support your local library, take the CDs out. You know, it's going to be in the catalog, the Blues Brothers catalog. Make sure you check it out and support. You know, but it was such this, you know, especially in the 2000s era when music was either new metal or, you know, some sort of more heavier, hard driving rock aspect of it, to sit and do this incredible blues song, and to do it with such swing, and to kind of like have a call and answer even when people were not there to call and answer back. It was such an incredible experience. So that by far, Hey Bartender, especially when we played the Zebra Lounge and we did it, and Patty Dodd saw us do it for the first time, because she stroked
Yeah,
my face and she said, "You have a heck of a voice." So it was a
she
good
was
time.
right. And you know what? She's still right. And Patty is still doing her thing on the island, as far as I know. I think she still books bands and does her showcases. She's great. I still keep in touch with her a little bit. Patty, if you're out there listening or watching, hello, darling. Great answer, by the way. I was not expecting you to say, "Hey, bartender."
Ah,
Good
I,
job
I
there.
thank you. I go back and rewatch the videos of it every once in a while, just because chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you, one that I have wanted to know for the longest time. When was the first moment that music touched you?
First moment that music touched
Hmm.
me. I have to
Like,
go
when
back
did
to
you
the ni-
know?
I have to go back to the 1970s. Music music touched me around 1974 in a way that it hasn't touched me since and never will again. Um, my parents had a very impressive record collection when I was growing up. So as a real young kid, in 1974, I was 3 years old.
Hmm.
As a real young kid, my parents would listen to a lot of records on vinyl. My dad was into Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and British rock. He also liked some stuff by The Who. So I got to hear a lot of their music through him. And my mom was more into Beatles and Beach Boys and Donovan and Jefferson Airplane. So I got to discover a lot of that music from her. So between my dad and my mom, I was exposed to a lot of music from the 60s. I wasn't exposed to too much music from the 70s by them. Um, Although my dad was a guitar player who also played some piano. So I would oftentimes get to see and hear my dad playing music, and just him by himself or him with his friends around a campfire. Nothing anywhere near on the level of what you and I got to experience, easy blues. But my dad was always kind of shy, and but he had some talent and he could play, and he introduced me to it in the early 70s. So I'm going to guess 1974 was when it really hit me. And those were my formative years. So I grew up with such a deep appreciation for music by those bands that I mentioned. Also, another
Hmm.
band my mom was really into was The Doors. So she got to
Mm.
expose me to a lot of The Doors music on vinyl also. Um, and she had this record called Waiting for the Sun, which was not the first Doors album. I think that was just called The Doors, and it wasn't the
Hmm.
second Doors album. I think that was called Strange Days. I do believe it was their third record, Waiting for the Sun.
Hmm.
And Waiting for the Sun contained a piece of music called Celebration of the Lizard. Um, not the music itself. I'm sorry. It contained a poem.
Hmm.
If I remember correctly, Waiting for the Sun was one of those gatefold vinyl LPs where if you opened it up, you could use the middle for, breaking up ganja on if you're going to roll joints, or in this case, it had liner notes, and you could
Hmm.
look at the liner notes, and the liner notes were poetry written by Jim Morrison for something called Celebration of the Lizard. And it was
Hmm.
all written out, and it was a lot of words, a long poem. The poem was never set to music on that record. It was just the poetry. However, if you do get a chance to ever listen to recordings of the Doors in concert, you will sometimes see recordings of the Celebration of the Lizard, where they do the entire poem set to music. And
Mhm.
it runs through all of the little song pieces. It's different segments. It almost forms a suite of different songs. It's about 5 or 6 different songs put together to make one long song. So in a sense, it's kind of like the Ray Bradbury of songs, if that even
Right.
makes any sense to the folks out there. If it doesn't make sense and you would like me to enlighten you as to why that should make sense, by all means, drop a note in the comments. I'll be glad to answer your question there. But so to answer your question, my brother, the answer is 1974. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. And thanks all of those bands of the 1960s who made all of that incredible music that shaped me, not just as a child, but also as an adolescent, as a young adult, as an adult, and now as the old man I've become. So there's your answer to your first question from me, Easy Blues. And
That
now
was a
my second
phenomenal
question.
answer.
You like that
That was
answer? Yeah?
I love that answer. I'm gonna watch back and I might comment about that answer. I'm just saying.
Sounds good to me. Well, I've got another question for you, and I can only
All
hope that
right.
you're ready. Are you ready?
I'm yeah, I'm ready. All right. Touch my toes. All right, we're good.
Okay. Well, we talked about the bunny bus a little bit earlier, and this podcast is called On the Bunny Bus. So here comes a bunny bus question for you. What is the wildest thing that you ever saw on the bunny bus? Whether it was an occurrence, a thing that happened, a physical thing itself, and I don't just mean the VHS player, but what was the wildest thing you saw on the bunny bus, my brother? It may have even been something that you saw when I wasn't on the bus.
I don't think you were on the bus, and this is actually, I think, my favorite moment, not just on the bunny bus, but just kind of like in life. And I love how you when you spoke about the bunny bus, you said, there was always this, picture on the bunny bus, and I wanted to know, but the why wasn't important. And that is such a beautiful metaphor for what we were doing in Suck It Easy,
Same.
because you know, and it's just so here, we're sitting. It's after one of the Easy Core happy hours, and we're sitting in the back, and there's another show going on in Munchab itself, or I think there was a dance party. Bappa was playing for the dance party aspect of it, and we out there, and we had a special guest that night, Tracy Islands, who is a phenomenal adult fetish actress, and interesting human being. She showed up in a Dorothy cosplay outfit before cosplay was a thing, and she sang very interestingly, "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." Very interestingly. But afterwards, sitting on the bunny bus and having this incredible conversation with her and her partner at the time, and we're just talking about life, and you would think, sitting on the bunny bus with this adult fetish actress, would be having conversations of like a naughty type of way, but we were not at the time. My oldest was just born, and we were talking about child rearing, and talking about different techniques on how to diaper correctly, and the proper use of breast milk to formula ratio, and when you should switch to rice cereal. And it was just such this amazingly surreal moment
Wow.
that I will forever hold so close to my heart, because it was the most realist of things ever happened on the bunny bus.
That is something. And Tracy was cool. I have some great memories. Um, there was a fun time at Manchaba where I saw Tracy one night, and I just happened to be flush with cash that night for some reason. I was walking around with something like $1,800 cash in my pocket. Just, I don't even remember why. I'm guessing maybe it's because I knew I had to make a rent payment to my landlord the next day or something. I forget what the reason was, but Tracy, at one point, I had to go into my wallet or my pants pocket for something, and Tracy saw me pull out $1,800 in cash in a nightclub, and she had no idea why, but of course she saw me do it, and I didn't mean for her to see, but she had a comment to me about it. She said something to me along the lines of, "Oh, what's that about?" She wasn't going to let the moment pass without saying something to me
Right.
about it, I guess. That sparked a conversation, and I forget what I said. I think I just downplayed it as, that old thing or this old bunch of money. I'm always carrying around a bunch of money. Who you kidding? Um, I forget what the end result of that conversation was. But I remember Tracy, and I wish I had been on the bus with you during that moment. That sounds like you had a good one there. In fact, you had a great one there, and I wish that I had that too. But I'm glad that you had it. At least one of us did. So good one.
Hey, there you
Now,
go. And now for my second question to you, Tim
oh
Easy.
boy.
All
Okay.
right, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you
Yes.
braced? Okay. The last time you played chess with Sasquatch, what was his opening move and how did you counter it?
The last time I played chess with Sasquatch, boy, oh boy, this has to have been 2003. So we're going back 20 years.
Mhm.
His opening move, I think, was to set up, he was trying to set up the gun towers with both of his bishops. So in order to do that, you've got to move the pawns out in front of the knights by one space each. Those have to be your
Mhm.
opening moves. Knight pawns move out one space. Now, it's tough to counter the gun towers. You've got to take control of the middle of the board, the middle four squares on a chessboard. And the best way to do that, I think, is to nullify the effectiveness of your opponent's bishops by pulling out your pawns in front of not just your king and queen, but also the pawns in front of both of your bishops, which are on the left and right side of your king and queen. So I think when Sasquatch started setting up the gun towers to control the middle four squares of the board, I started setting up this insane defense in front of my king and queen, where you push out the pawns and then you move the knights to be in the spaces right above the bishops where the pawns used to be, or
Mhm.
move the knights right in front of the king and queen, just park them there, right where the pawns used to be. That's what I meant. I think that's what I did. I'm pretty sure I beat Sasquatch that day. I used to be pretty good at Western chess. I'm not that good these days, but all it takes is a little bit of practice, I suppose, because it's just like getting back on a bicycle after not having ridden a bicycle in a while. But that was a really cool question, bro. I was not expecting a chess question. For those
Of
out there who
course.
are listening or watching, you might not know, but I have been and still am to some degree a bona fide chess nut, um, with a history involving chess. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
But great question, bro. Thank you. Now I have a
Of
question
course.
for you. Now this is going to be my
Okay.
last question for you, since we don't want to keep the viewers here all night as much as I'd love to.
Mhm.
I say
Be
viewers,
great.
but I also mean listeners. I'm sure some of you might be listening to us on Spotify, or other streaming platforms. And but anyway, here's my last question for you. Now, this one involves time travel. If
Okay.
you could time travel back to the 1970s to see one band perform live in concert during that decade, which band would you choose to see perform live? And tell me why. Better yet, tell us why, because all of us are here, right? We've got all the folks in YouTube land,
Mhm.
Spotify land, and every place else. So enlighten us, bro.
Honestly, if I had the opportunity to go back into the 70s, the band that I would want to see live would be Queen. Freddie Mercury, the theatrics and the command of the stage, all of these things were just so super important and personified everything that meant anything to me production wise, and because it was not, when I perform, even to this day, it's not about really the accuracy of the note aspect as much as it is about conveying the feeling. And when you can take your whole body on that journey and really perform, I'm not the person that stands up there and holds the microphone. I never pour salt in anyone else's hustle. If that's how you interpret music, that is you, and I love you for it. It's just not me. If the song requires me to bleed on stage, I'm going to bleed on stage. And Freddie Mercury really jumped that amazing arc and brought together, as much as, yes, Alice Cooper did these things as well, but the theater and the theatrics is just so amazing. And I would love, if I could jump in that DeLorean, hit it to 88 miles an hour, I'm jumping back to Queen, possibly, at Wembley, possibly in a small club. Actually, maybe in a small club. I think I'd love to see that energy in a smaller room.
That would be the place to see it, and that's a great choice of bands. Although with Queen and Wembley, you have to wait till like 1985 and 86.
Yeah.
But you go back to the late 70s, and oh man, you would be seeing some kick-ass live performances by Queen. Oh my God.
Definitely.
Uh,
I
great
appreciate that
choice.
question.
Great choice.
That was
Great answer too.
Thank you.
Excellent choice.
Now, for my final question, we finally get to go full circle. Many, many moons ago, when this whole true friendship was really in the blossom aspect of it, we had just tilled the land, we had planted the seeds, we started to water, and we started to nourish what has really become on the bunny bus. And I am so thankful for this entire journey with you. It has been amazing. I was on your podcast, Easy Town Radio, which then also I became a part of. And you asked me this question the first time I was ever on the show. And now I get to ask it back to you. New York Jets or New York Giants, and why?
New York Giants. And I say that only because I know it's going to tickle Ringo Klecko's funny bone. Here on the Roundhouse Network, one of our other podcasts is called the Ringo Klecko Sports Report. And Ringo Klecko, big Jets guy, and I know you're a big Jets guy, and I know that. But let me explain why I'm going to choose Giants here. I'm going to choose Giants because, number one, they did not sign Aaron Rodgers to a contract, which I was happy about. Not that they were even considering signing him, at least not as far as I knew. It was always just, I'm going to the Jets. I'm going to the Jets. How are we going to make this happen with the Jets? Okay. Aaron Rodgers, you want to follow in the footsteps of Brett Favre? Go right ahead. Be my guest. This is your world. The rest of us just live in it, right? But I'm going with the Giants. They were the first New York football team that I saw win a Super Bowl, and they are the only New York team that I have seen win a Super Bowl. Now, I know the Jets won Super Bowl III. Everybody knows about that. But this happened before I was hip to the NFL. I was much too young for that sort of thing. So in 1986, when the Giants won the Super Bowl, I was 15 years old, very young, very impressionable. And since then, I've been somewhat of a Giants fan. Now, I'm not a big NFL guy, but if there's a Giants game on, I'll watch. But don't get me wrong, if there's a Jets game on, I'll watch too. I like to watch professional sports. It's not always something I'll go out of my way to do, but if it's on TV, I'll watch it. If I'm at some restaurant or some tavern or some place where somebody's got the game on, if I'm at a friend's house, he's got the game on, I'll check it out for a little bit. But where it starts to lose me is when the commercial breaks happen. I don't really like getting brainwashed by commercials all the time, especially if it's the same commercial 7, 8 times in a row. That gets to be a bit much for me. I remember being younger and watching the Super Bowls and getting excited for the commercials. But these days, I don't know. My whole perspective has changed. I barely enjoy seeing commercials on TV because, well, for example, if I see a commercial on TV for Pizza Hut or a commercial on TV for Cheetos, guess what I'm going to be craving? And guess what I should not be craving, right? So anyway, that
Hmm.
just explains why I have a hard time with with watching sports on TV. I do love sports. I just don't love the commercials. And it's a necessary evil. I get it. These are the sponsors who help to pay the networks, to help the networks stay in business, to be able to broadcast the games. I understand. We made our peace with that devil a long time ago. Um, but I never signed on any bottom lines with regards to that arrangement.
Hmm.
And it's okay if I'm not at peace with it. It's okay to not be at peace with something. And in my case, it's not being at peace with that. But sorry for the long answer, Easy Blues, but just gonna wrap it up real quick by saying New York Giants.
There you go. That is great. That is a great answer. That is a fantastic answer. And I also just loved it. And for those, they can find it actually on your SoundCloud. You have those old episodes of Easy Town Radio, and they can find when that moment happened, and then they can revisit it, and they can tell us in the comments, or they can actually send an email. Make sure in the subject matter you say on the bunny bus, and you send it to sunnycalzone@gmail.com. If you want to be part of listeners mail, please send us all your questions, all your jokes. If you think that Timmy's shirt is awesome, send him a hey, your shirt rocks. And we love every single one of you. Thank you so much for coming on the maiden voyage of On the Bunny Bus.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Easy Blues. And I'll see you on episode 2. Increase the peace.